All right, so this review has been a long time coming, but I'm actually glad that I kind of waited a little bit to do this because it has been 3 months having this combo, this rod and this reel, 3 months using this, and I gotta tell you, spoiler alert, I love it. I'm very happy with it, okay? So let's dive into some of the details about the KastKing MegaJaws reel. This is the 9-to-1 gear ratio. Okay, this thing weighs, I believe it's all metal construction, feels like all aluminum construction. It weighs 7.6 ounces. Okay, so it's not an extremely lightweight reel. It fits in the palm okay, but again, I mean, are you really palming so much when you're fishing frogs? I don't know. I don't have big hands. It fits in my palm just fine. I'm kind of a right here kind of reel holder, so I like to have the line there. Sometimes I'll be back here a little bit and just hold it like that right there. That's me personally. So I got a couple of quirks with it, okay? And I think that I should start off with the cons on this reel because the pros outweigh the cons very heavily. So, cons to this reel. The knobs. I do not like these knobs. It's supposed to be cork, but they get slick. My hands will slip off of there if it's a really wet day, if I got a lot of dew on the reel, anything like that from sitting in the grass. So I'm not crazy about the knobs on here, okay? I think they should switch those, or they just came out with, you know, the reel handle, the crank. They came out with some new handles for the Royal Legend Elite, and I think that they should do it for the MegaJaws because there's so many. There's like 4 different gear ratios in the MegaJaws, and I think this reel is fantastic. So this reel in particular, I don't like the knobs on it, and then also it does spool heavily to the left. Now, spooling heavily to the left, that could be the way that I hold the rod because I do tend to hold it to the left, angled to the left, and I'm fishing braid. So no memory to the line, and that's probably what it is, but I have noticed it spools heavily to the left. I've only thrown braid on here. I've never put fluorocarbon or monofilament on here, only braid. Now, the last thing that I had to say about this, and I do attribute it more so to the braid than the reel, is I have had not so much backlashes, but the braid will dig into that reel so bad and it spools up loosely. Again, I do attribute that to the braid, but I expected a little bit more. It's a little thing, very tiny little thing. I have never had such a bad backlash in here that I've had to cut line out. Okay, I've always been able to figure it out. I've always been able to get them out of there. So I love this reel. It's fantastic. Now let's get back to some of the specs on this reel. This reel has got 12 total bearings, 11 plus 1, 12 total bearings, 7.6 ounces. This one in particular, 9-to-1 gear ratio. Now 9-to-1 gear ratio is giving you 34 inches per turn. I turned this 1 full revolution and I got 34 inches brought back right there. I didn't have 34 inches of line. So that is why I have made this a frog rod, okay? Because I have been in some slop and I've needed to wrench fish out of there, and I have never had an issue reeling a fish in, keeping it above, getting it out of the slop. This thing is a workhorse. I love this reel. It's fantastic. Nice solid audible click on the spool release right there. That button. You got a little bit of play in the reel sometimes, a little bit of play in the spool back and forth, but not terrible. The line or the spool tension knob, nice audible click to it. Okay, very nice audible click. I like it. The drag on this, 17 pounds of drag. 17 pounds of drag. This thing wrenches them out of the crap. You're fishing heavy weeds, heavy moss, lilies, grass, whatever it may be, this thing will pull them out. I promise you that. This will pull the fish out of wherever they are, okay? Now, last kind of con here is the side plate, okay? It does not stay attached, but you have a nice little lock right there. Lock and unlock tab. I've never had it come off. Never had it come off unless I'm taking it off. It's more of a pain to put it back on at times. That's about it. more of a pain to put it back on. 8 discs, 8-disc magnetic braking system with external adjustments right there. Fantastic. I've been able to dial this reel in to throw some really lightweight poppers, to throw on 1/2 ounce frogs, okay? I have had 0 issues with this. I've actually thrown some of the heavier swim baits on this reel as well, mainly because the rod can handle it, okay? So we've covered the brakes, we've covered the build. It looks great. I gotta tell you guys one thing. This reel in particular, why I think that it is such a workhorse. I lost a fish one time, many times, but I lost a frogfish once, and I threw this reel. I didn't throw it behind me. I didn't just chuck it to the side. I slammed it on the ground. Slammed it. I go and pick it up after collecting myself. John was there this day. The reel handle, the crank was completely bent. It's still a little bit bent there, but I mean, it was completely loose, wobbling and everything. And I was like, great, I just broke my frog reel. What am I gonna do now? So I go home, I take off the retention washer right here for the crank, for the handle. Put it back on, tighten it back up, bend it out a little bit, and there is no play in that thing whatsoever now. This thing is a tank. I mean, I threw it, I slammed it down, and I bent that handle. It's a tank. It can handle it. Another nice little feature here, it does have a drain port back here, so if you are getting water up in there, it is going to drain out of there. And then right up here at the very front, let me take it off here really quick. Front, it has got a little flap right there, little flap, to where you can oil your gears. Now, it does not stay closed very well. So, pro, con, do you oil it that often? Are you worried about that? That's up to you, that's your call. I don't worry about it. I have no problem oiling this reel up. I've only oiled it once in the 3 months that I've had it, and it still handles like a champ. One thing I do always do is I try and clean the eyelets out. I get down in there and I clean out all the moss and all that crap that gets in there and dried in there, and I do take care of my reels as best I can. Let's talk about the rod really quick. This rod in particular, this is the Speed Demon. Their version 1, they have the Speed Demon Pro now. Speed Demon 1, this is a 7.2 extra heavy fast action rod. This will handle weights up to 4 ounces, 1 to 4 ounce weight, lure weight. So it has had no problem throwing poppers. I'm talking like 1/4 ounce poppers. No problem throwing 1/4 ounce poppers, no problem throwing 1/2 ounce frogs, and no problem throwing 3 ounce swim baits. This rod has handled it. It's done its job. It's worked fantastic. You guys have seen me in the kayak. I set a hook on a frog with no issue. That rod tip, that extra fast tip, drove those hooks in there perfectly, and I was sitting. Some people worry about, kayak fishing and going out there like, am I gonna have enough power in my rod to set the hook on a frog if I'm out on a kayak because I'm sitting down? With this rod, you will have all the power that you need. It's perfect. It's fantastic. Only downside to this rod that I have, not the cork handle. I love this cork handle. I think these are like some kind of wood, really, like particle board or something like that. But this cork handle right here, fantastic. But this seat right here, I do not like that. I don't like how it's angled down like that. It's just not very comfortable. I'm not a big fan of it. Not a big fan, but it's okay. Also, the hook catch right there, not a big fan of that. The hook catch sits right back here. I prefer it at the bottom or up here, but little things, little cosmetics that are not a deal breaker for me, and they shouldn't be for you either. You want to talk about reel seats that do it right? Reel seats that do it right. Phantom, favorite fishing rod, okay? You see what I'm talking about here? The difference in the reel seats right there? I wish they were more like that. Which, on the Speed Demon Pro, they addressed that, they changed it up. But this rod is quite a bit cheaper than the Speed Demon Pro. This reel is quite a bit cheaper than the Speed Demon Pro. This reel is $69, 70 bucks. I've only thrown braid on it. I've only had issues with 4-strand braid on this as far as backlash. I've thrown 9-strand, I've thrown 8-strand. I've got 8-strand 50-pound on there right now. No issue whatsoever. The reel's a workhorse, the rod's a workhorse. I love it. I think it's fantastic. So, That's my review. I think it's awesome. If you guys are curious about purchasing this, go down to the description. I put a link for all my gear in the description. I'm still coming out with a video to break down all the gear that I have as well. So, thanks again, guys. I appreciate you all, and I will see you next time. Hey, if you're not subscribed, would you mind doing so, please? Okay? You don't have to hit the red, the bell button. You don't have to hit the bell. I don't care if you get notified or not, but hit the subscribe button if you're on my channel. I'd appreciate it. I got a family. I got 7 kids. I gotta support my family. I'm trying to get there. You know what I'm saying? Hit the subscribe button. Check the links in the description. I appreciate it very much.